In this coaster duel, I will be pitting Intimidator 305, arguably the most intense coaster on the planet located at King's Dominion, against Millennium Force, the original Giga Coaster, which can be found at Cedar Point. Both of these roller coasters are Giga Coasters and are built by Intimidator. Also, these two giant coasters have their fan base, so let's see how they stack up against each other. Starting off with the ride stats, I will be comparing these coasters by the following stats: height, speed, drop, and ride length. Since these rides are very similar in design, I will award a half point for each category. Barely beating out Intimidator 305 in almost every stat, Millennium Force earns 2 points, while I-305 will earn a half point for the tie in the drop category. Alright, moving along, for the next categories, a single point will be awarded for each category. Starting things off, theming. Both Cedar Point and King's Dominion are amusement parks at heart, so we aren't going to find much theming, but with a little theming it does have, I-305 takes this point. This coaster is themed to the legendary NASCAR racer Dale Earnhardt, who is nicknamed the Intimidator. Millennium Force has little to no theming. The station does have this cool techno music playing and some neat lighting over the train area, but that's basically it. To be honest, I-305 doesn't fare much better, except that the trains are themed to look like NASCARs, which is pretty neat. Ride Restraints. Millennium Force features the original T-bar lap restraint with a seatbelt. This allows for a more open, exposed ride experience, which is why Millennium Force will win this point. I-305 features the newer vest restraints. I personally don't have any problem with these types of restraints, but I would pick the T-bar restraints on Millennium Force over the vest restraints any day. Smoothness. If I were to go back a couple years, I might say that Millennium Force is the smoother of the two. But after this year's ride experience, I-305 will walk away with this point. When I rode in the front seat, I-305 had no rattle and was butter smooth. Millennium Force feels like you're driving down a gravel road. The roughness isn't horrible, but definitely disappointing for this once known smooth as butter roller coaster. Ride layout. The layout is what really separates these two Giga coasters. Millennium Force features a lot of overbanked turns and hills with good floater air. I-305 is almost all high-speed turns with snappy transitions and a couple small airtime moments. Millennium Force flows naturally through its entire layout, as I-305 feels like the engineers had to work with a really limited space, cramming in the coaster while trying to achieve that 300-foot mark. With that being said though, those engineers did a fantastic job, because I-305 is the winner for this category. I-305 is just crazy intense, which leads us right into our next category, intensity. This point is a no-brainer. I-305 is one of the most intense coasters on the planet. In fact, when this coaster first opened, it was deemed too intense, and the ride layout had to be slightly adjusted to make it more comfortable for the GP. The first high-speed turn is almost guaranteed to make you gray out. I've used this analogy many times, but I'll say it again. Millennium Force is like taking a nice ride in your grandpa's Cadillac, while I-305 is like riding in a Mustang with a crazy teenager behind the wheel. Airtime. Looking at the two, I-305 has a couple moments of strong ejector airtime, well, at least depending on where you are seated on the train. Millennium Force has more consistent airtime moments, but with no ejector air. Just nice prolonged floater airtime. So I think overall, if you're looking for some airtime, you're better off going to Millennium Force, which will be my pick for this category. Alright, our final category is Ride View. From the top of Millennium Force, riders are greeted to an amazing panoramic view of Lake Erie. I-305, you're basically just looking out over trees and fields. Nothing quite as special as the view on Millennium Force, which is obviously the winner for this final point. Okay, the final tally comes to Millennium Force 5 and Intimidator 305 4.5. Barely beating out I-305, Millennium Force wins this duel. Honestly, my personal favorite of the two is Intimidator 305, with the fact that it's just so intense. When looking on paper, Millennium Force looks to be the better of the two, but if I had to decide which one to ride right now, I'd pick I-305. Well, that ends our coaster duel. What do you think? Is Millennium Force the better of the two? Let me know in the comments. Also, remember to subscribe, check out some of my other content, and also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.